What's going on, creators? Yeah, I just want to get on here and bring everybody back to now. Appreciate you all being here and vibing with me for a bit. Yeah, today I'd like to continue the conversation on mental diets and really kind of unplugging from this narrative that just is constant, just reinforcing this problem, reaction, solution paradigm. And that's beyond just governments. I mean, that's part of like a business strategy, and all this is kind of based on the idea of scarcity on some level, and really trying to move away from that and really focus on what is good, what's beneficial, and what's within our power to kind of just move forward with. Because until we kind of address this past and let it go, continues to play out in these loops over and over and over again, and leaving that old man behind and embracing this new is really something I'm like actively trying to pursue, and on some level maybe encourage others, but not to say, oh, this is the only way to do it. This is the way I'm doing it, and I see a definite benefit. I see a bunch of it working in my life, and has been a blessing. And so I just want to share that with others, especially those that are just constantly just in this narrative of the world. It's so easy to get stuck in the well, they're lying. Here's the evidence. Here's this, and it's like, yeah. That's true. There's upside down and backwards going on in the narrative of the world, but that doesn't need to be where you're spending the majority of your attention, because it starts to actually, from my experience, when I get stuck in these rabbit holes or these loops of just like being triggered about different things that are happening. It's like, wow, why can't you see this? Or, why would you do this when it's like obviously dangerous or obviously, self-destructive? Why would you pursue that? And you kind of get caught in that, and judging. The Bible, if you want to really get into what judging means, the same word for condemning and judging is used. And you can look that up for yourself in the King James. Whenever I kind of look for like these self definitions, these biblical self definitions, I always kind of just use the King James version, only because I feel like there's a percentage of people that put a lot of faith in this is what the Bible is, and so not to put that on others that read different versions. That's just what I've gotten used to. But like in the King James version, those words are interchangeable: condemning and judging. And so looking at others as like, oh, you're going, you get punished and tormented for X, Y, and Z. Yeah, that's how I interpret it, at least, and so looking at, but then at the same time, you can get carried away where it's just like, oh, I can't even observe phenomena anymore because that's judging. It's like, is the sky blue or is it not blue? It's like you're not making a judgment by just saying an observable truth. That's. So not to get hung up, and a lot of times, like, the old mind likes to convolute and like take very simple ideas and to just turn them into these just disasters, basically. But like looking at everything, through this, okay, I'm observing this. I don't necessarily know what it means. The part of the old nature is to constantly think what everything means, which is why I find asking why inwardly is really important, because once you get to about 4 or 5 whys, there is no egoic, I know this, and it leads you to being open to receiving something new, and so an example of that is just maybe you feel like you're enslaved to this system. It's like, why? It's like, well, because there's the banks, there's the Ponzi scheme money system, blah blah, is created by nothing. It's like, so why why does that make you feel enslaved? Well, because then I have to participate in it, and then it's like, well, why? Well, if I don't, then you eventually run out of like these scripts that you already are running. So it's kind of helpful to any of these things that may be repeating patterns to just get down to the why. Maybe go 5 times with it till you don't really have an answer, and then be open to allowing God to give you an answer at something maybe new understanding. And that's something that you can verifiably do for yourself. And so much of this is you can inundate your consciousness with, beneficial information in, your mental diet, but then don't forget to apply what you're learning, because until you start applying it, then you're almost just mentally masturbating, really, because it's like, it's very comparable to like learning guitar. And I've seen that before, where it's just like, some people will just, you go to jam or something, and they're just so just into their gear that they're just strumming a couple things and messing with a pedal, diddling around, and it's like just play, dude. It doesn't have to be this ideal perfect tone. Just play a G D C chord progression. It's like, what are you doing? But like you'll see a lot of that where people get stuck in theory land, or like, oh, I'm trying to sound like somebody else land. And a lot of those are stumbling blocks, and once you realize that you learn through the doing of it, you get better through practicing it, then and applying it, and then it becomes kind of a different ballgame. And that's something though that you can start seeing for yourself as you do apply it, and becoming more present and still, and not just inundating your consciousness with fear and what ifs and worst case scenarios and not feeling good enough and shame and guilt and all of that paradigm from the old man, that really just stems from the belief in separateness, that you're separate from God, that you're a castaway, or you're just a brain in a body. When you really start to become more and more present and still, you start seeing how everything is connected through consciousness. Another way of saying it is connected through God, and looking towards Jesus as like, what did he say? Because it's already been done. Everything's already happened. It's part of like, the new is trying to figure out exactly what that means, and part of that is embodying that state of consciousness now of how would you feel if your desire was already fulfilled, if your desire was heaven, which a lot of like Christian people, claim that to be the end goal, I guess. It's like, how would you feel then if you were in that state, and start to embody that state? And like one of the things I've like kind of picked up on, and I'm not saying that this is, if it resonates, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But like, part of this thing for me is like, connecting with these two states of, there's the suffering Jesus on the cross, which a lot of Christians, connect with that Jesus, and then are kind of playing that out in their own lives, the suffering and everything else. And there's so many good reasons to be suffering all the time in the present moment, which is the only time that's real, and, but there's another state where you can connect with the risen Christ, within you, the living one. It's like, a lot of Christians connect with the dead one, the dead body, but not part of the resurrection body, and that's something to maybe just think about, maybe unpack that in your own being, not to say anything other than that. The Bible kind of like lays out instructions to commune with your own heart and on your bed. It's just like, go in your prayer closet or whatever, just be still and connect with that silence. Pose these questions, and don't think that you already know the answer. Well, my pastor told me this, or this evangelist said that, or this super religious person is, you are the one that has to give an account for your own experience of life. So start connecting with that divine energy now, that love, because that's something that you can connect with. And the more that you start to connect, in church today they were talking about that, how as you draw closer to God, God draws closer to you. And so like, you make the first step though, like you make the active choice to move in that direction, and start working on that spiritual relationship. And then it starts reflecting more and more so as you're really applying and trusting in the promises of God. It might be coming off a little bit preachy today, but like, that's just kind of where my head's at the moment, because it's like, if you spend just as much time in your mental diet focusing on heavenly things, spiritual things, love ultimately, and not just being inundated with fear. And that's the other part of this thing. I hear a lot of like maybe spiritual people like that are like, oh, when the Bible talks about like fearing God, you already fear God. I mean, it's not something you already are doing that. I mean, if you didn't fear God, you wouldn't fear death. And that part of that fear of death, it interconnects, with this fear that, God's going to throw you in hell, or, cast you away, reject you, all these types of things. It's all connected. So like, instead of sitting there and battling with it and wrestling with it, what the old man likes to do, it's like, oh, well, why do I gotta do this and do that? And that doesn't make any sense. If God is love, why should I be afraid? It's like, you are already afraid. So it's like, looking at these different things and letting God relieve your fear, because ultimately, perfect love casts out fear. So whenever you're in a state of fear, regardless of what that fear might be, what if, or I felt too good, so now I feel shame, like I shouldn't experience good things. I should only just, live in a Cleon world where I'm just a warrior and just flagellating myself and and just like punishing myself continuously in the present moment, because that's where things are actually happening. A lot of times when I hear people saying that, it's like I get where they're coming from when these things happen and they're suffering, and it's like, yeah, look towards that as being temporary, because it is, and part of like the biblical concepts, as far as I'm, as you realize that your consciousness and who you believe yourself to be is being reflected in the situations of your life, your relationships, your jobs, your everything, it's all connected in this weird way. Then you start looking in the mirror, and instead of trying to change the outer situation, start changing who your sense of self in relationship to that is. So you see the outer experience going on out here, and go within to see if you can change your identity. Are you connecting with the resurrected Christ, or are you connected still with carrying the cross and going down that road? And everybody's in different levels, and everybody's in different stages of this journey. And so, and not to say one is, everybody's where they're at, and it's unfolding perfectly. And so when you start to realize that reality, consciousness, whatever we call our perception, is reflecting now, you start to embody the state that you're trying to achieve on this outer situation, and so like maybe success, God, if you believe the promises of God are true, anything that you ask for in prayer, believe that you've received it and it's yours. That's a big promise. And so if you really start putting your faith in them, it's like, what are you trying to achieve by maybe more money or more physical things? It's like a lot of times you're trying to achieve a state of consciousness through backwards. You're trying to get it backwards. It's like a lot of these external things are amplifiers of states anyway. So like maybe success is a good example, where it's just like the more you hit these different milestones, maybe the more shit and more responsibilities you have, the more stuff you move around. Even with money, I mean, when you start to, you're just getting in the current of it, the flow of it, you're moving it around, but you get to drink out of that same hose. But think of it like water, where it's like coming in and through you. You get to drink out of it, but it's also being used to pay for other people, support other businesses, support other people, do, part of God's plan with it. It's like it's all being orchestrated in this way that you really can't mess it up. You are where you're at right now, and that's perfectly fine. It's like, will you evolve and grow? Yeah, because that's your nature, because you are love, you're not fear. And so the more you shed the fears, the more that you naturally just consciousness rises. And as it starts to rise, you start seeing the synchronicities and these connectedness start to reflect that change in consciousness. And so start embodying the state that you're trying to achieve, because really a lot of times we're trying to achieve these different things to just get peace, or to feel safe, or just to feel like mostly it's just to feel safe and at peace. Maybe to feel joy on some level. Maybe there's an activity like playing the guitar. It can bring you joy, but it's not the actual. It's like the doing. I don't know how to describe it. But it's like you embody these different things. Just you're not in your mind about it. You're more in just the moment and in the flow of it. A lot of times getting in the mind about it starts taking you out of it, because then you start connecting with the thoughts, and not to sit there and like get hung up on the thoughts, because it's easy to sometimes to like, oh, I just got a really fucked up thought, and it's like, does that mean I'm a fucked up person? It's like, maybe you just thought about like murdering somebody for like some really small thing. It's like, oh, somebody you just didn't like their energy, and you just felt like pushing them out into traffic or something fucked up, and it's just like, geez, is that part of me? It's like, it's like, does that mean I'm a messed up person? When you have these thoughts, and like, there's like actually a Bible verse, if you get really kind of down this tangent, I guess, where it talks about like God makes like the good and the bad. And I don't know if like for some, I find that like very comforting. That because that's also going on within me, too. It's like a lot of times, like I've been on this thing where it's like trying to be so good, where it just feels inauthentic, especially if you're like inwardly you're just like, fuck off today, just leave me alone, I'm not in the mood to listen to your problems, I got my own problems today. It's just like, and you kind of get in that mood, and then like then like I get reminded of like Jesus, where it's just like, oh, walk, if someone asks you to walk a mile with them, walk two, and then if they're cold, give them your coat and your everything, and it's just like, okay, well, I'm not really, I don't feel like I'm at that level where I can do that right now. And I feel like that's okay. I feel like that's moving in that direction eventually. It was where you want to do that, and then not like you're like feel obligated and forced. Because we all are dealing with just trauma and different things, and I think it's kind of something to shoot for, but like you get to walk before you can. I mean, ultimately trusting that God's unfolding this thing perfectly anyway, and part of it is having a state of mind that allows for just like a perfect reflection, and not having these unconscious fear patterns that pop up that we just continuously recreate over and over again, and for some reason think that works and that's good, and that it's weird, when it's like, hey, you can choose to do something different. Maybe if you're just stuck in a really scarcity mindset, and it's like, hey, that's not how you have to live. I mean, you can tell yourself the exact opposite, which is what that everything is abundant, because it is abundant. It's like this idea of scarcity is a manipulation on some level, but is also a reacting thing out of fear and survival. I like to watch a lot of like with the chickens and everything. I like to just stand outside and just watch how they function and how they get it, because there's a consciousness to these animals. It's like, it seems like the ducks, because I got two ducks, and they've been, I don't know if they've been like trying to mate, or if they've just been like a dominance thing, but they've been kind of acting aggressively towards each other, and like one would like grab a hold of the other one's like chest feathers and like push it, and like kind of, and this would happen after I changed their duck water, because we got like a little pool for like babies or whatever, like kids, just fill it full of water for the ducks to kind of just chill out. And it's crazy how obsessed they are with water. We had raised these things since they've been tiny, and like you would think that would make them more tame, but I wouldn't even pick them up, because they get kind of aggressive, and like not like they'll peck at you, but their feet, they'll just start clawing at your arms and stuff, and like when now they're kind of getting aggressive towards each other, and like this dominance. I don't know if it's a dominance thing, because I don't really know if they're two males, or if I don't know how to tell, but like yeah, they've been doing that, and then like some of the chickens have been getting since we got rid of the rooster. I thought the turkey would like start taking more of a lead and kind of being like a dominant force in there, like kind of like one like an alpha, that the hens would kind of feel safe around, but the turkey seems to be pretty, I don't know, passive, and like the chickens there's not all of them that are doing it, but like maybe 3 or 4 of them that are just pecking at it, like pecking at its ass and pecking. It's got this like weird, they call it like a chest beard, I guess. But they're pecking at that too, and so it's like, yeah, you get this weird kinds of dynamics at play, and I just sit there and watch it, and like I also just like watch the squirrel. I watch nature, and then I also like kind of watch, like when I'm out fishing and stuff, I leave everything kind of be, like cell phone, everything. I just get out there out in the river, walk down the river far away from people, and it like it's real naturey and stuff, and like just kind of see how that consciousness plays out. And you see like I was watching this thing. It was pretty intense. These grizzly bears fighting. Fuck, man. I mean, these things are strong. And like sitting there watching, it reminds me a lot of like people, that are acting like animals, and like I don't think there's that much difference, when you get like two dudes fighting over just women and territory and dominance, and a lot of it's believed on scarcity though. But look at these kind of connections in nature, and I feel like it's important to like look at the world around, because it's all part of creation, and trying to understand more of creation, which also is another way of understanding more about our Creator. As you see how things are mirroring consciousness, looking around more symbolically, and going within and ask, what does this mean? Why are they doing that? What is the point of that? That seems really violent, or that seems really evil. That one animal's picking on another animal, or eating it. A lot of animals have, you see them and have no thought whatsoever about just eating another one, and it's like, you start wondering what goes through their mind. If anything, it might be just running on just pure scripts. It seems like that could be true, especially when you start seeing how people tend to run on scripts, especially the ones that act like animals. Tend to just follow the herd and not use their mind, or really think and question anything besides trying to alleviate their fear, and looking towards this outside entity to alleviate their fear, which is actually enslaving them to the thing that they're trying. It's weird how it kind of works, but like I don't know what that tangent's about, but like I'm kind of looking towards the rest of the day. Families, they're out of the house. We got some plans to do tomorrow, but I got to get the vehicle. I get like a pulley, like an air conditioning pulley. It's been rattling around. I changed to the harmonic balancer pulley, thinking that was the pulley that was rattling around, because it was, and that didn't fix the sound. And I really got to get that addressed. I think I might just buy a new bearing and bang it out and see if that fixes it. I don't know. It's becoming somewhat late in the day, and I haven't even went to the auto store to mess with it. I don't know. I don't. I can work on my vehicles normally, but I just don't really find joy in it for some reason. It seems like and maybe it's just my mindset about it creates that kind of scenario for me to continuously walk through and try to change my mindset. Maybe, this is gonna be super easy. It's gonna be effort. I'm gonna find flow in it. It'll be fun. It'll be fixed. It'll be a relief, because I get this thing with vehicles where it's like, once I put it back together and I turn the car on, and it's like the problem's fixed. It's really satisfying, but getting there is like, a lot of times having so crowded, trying to get the wrenches in there, get these fucking bolts off. And my vehicles are generally high mileage, older vehicles, because I just buy them cash. And so like a lot of times the bolts might be rusted, and then you come across these weird fucked up little issues, and it's like, and I just need to get better tools then too. That's one of the main problems, is like, I have a lot of tools for like home fixing shit around the house and stuff, but like it's a different set of tools and stuff. And so I just want to get on here and kind of ramble a little bit, kind of just share that, and I don't know, maybe somebody finds that useful for some reason. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of just let that fly out into the ether, and hopefully it provides some positive mental diet for somebody who's listening. I know I like to fill my mind, instead of narratives of the world, with faith building, empowering information, growing your faith, and then seeing how success stories of people that maybe have been following, like Neville Goddard or the law of assumption. I feel like the law of assumption is a lot more simple than like its counterpart, the law of attraction, where things do get attracted, but it seems like the law of attraction really manifests a lot more fears than anything else, from my experience at least, and a whole lot of this holding pattern of desiring a future that's different from the now, which then leaves you in a kind of a space of wanting, or like this isn't good enough, where like the law of assumption kind of leads a little bit better, I guess, with stewarding what you have, because you realize it's a reflection of who you are, and then embodiment of the of the desire already being achieved. So it's like before you feel wealthy, or before you feel like before you have tangible wealth, you embody freedom and wealth, because you know that this is an illusion and that God provides, and you don't got to worry about it. You're part of God's abundance and part of the currency of that. Same thing with health, and wellness, and we're all, some people are really good at some of these things, or others struggle on different things, but we all have our different. It's all even in this weird way. It's like there's not this big advantage over here, and then somebody's way fucked over here, and in a strange way, we all have strengths and weaknesses, and so somebody that's really strong on this end might be just a shit show down here when it comes to maybe something else. But I feel like just by contributing, I guess maybe my puzzle piece, my perspective, and dealing just with the script, I guess, maybe it will let others empower them to live the life that God created them to live too. Because what God's done for me, for others, He'll do for you too. I mean, God's not a respecter of persons like that. We're all equal, and so what one has, everybody has. If you align to it. I think vibrationally maybe is one way to say it, but once you embody that vibration, it has no choice but to manifest in the mirror of reality, because it's constantly being mirrored. Most of the time, unconsciously we're experiencing what we don't want and just reliving these patterns over and over again, these loops. But it's when you start focusing on what you do want, filling your mental diet with empowering information, and moving in that direction, it's like you start to experience it more and more as you embody it. And so just to put that out there for people, I feel like is important. And other than that, I think I'm going to start working on the vehicle here. I got to go to the auto store. I got to go to the grocery store too. If it's just me, I'm going to maybe get myself a steak and cook it on the grill or something. I don't know. We'll see. It'd definitely be something that we don't normally have, because everybody's got different tastes at my house, and so I'm just going to really pig out maybe, and then try to get the vehicle running so I got to make a 30-40 minute drive tomorrow, which is normally not a big deal, but when it's already kind of making weird noises, what would happen is if that bearing goes out, it would seize, and then it would throw the belt off, and then cause a cascade of different issues. But if I just fix it now, I wouldn't have to worry about it. And so definitely just want to fix it now, even though we'll see what happens. We'll see what they say at the auto store, what kind of parts they got lying around. And other than that, have a good rest of your now. Oh, and I appreciate everybody that likes and shares, subscribing and sharing videos with your friends, if you have friends. I know I don't have very many friends left that I share things with because of triggered responses from people, but you never know. And I also support people that or I'm thankful for the people that send support. Try to get better about being showing gratitude for that, instead of just kind of being distant and weird about that, and so I definitely thank you for the support. I appreciate it. Definitely put it to good use, in my town, in my community, in my house, and try to use it to improve just my local area's state of consciousness on some level, and others that maybe dip into this channel. Well, it all works to the good, and so thanks everybody. Until the next now, have a good whatever's, and later.